Greetings. Oh. Do you know how everybody has a wall of puppets that watches you while you sleep? Just me? Ordinarily, I'd give you a long-winded explanation of why I'm building this, but this time I'm not.
I started by drawing out this pattern that I would never use during this project. Then I took this picture to prove to my mother I was being productive. Oh, look at Capra being all emo. Then I made a cardboard base for his head, with the eyeballs, and then I covered it in foam clay, and then I set it to dry in front of the fan. Then I replaced the mouth plate in the cardboard base to fit better. And then I got started making the limbs out of foam clay. Here's some advice. Don't ever work with foam clay. But also do, it's really cool. Once his limbs were made, I set out all his body parts to dry in a completely not weird looking way at all. Then I gave him a foam skull. And then I started to make the patterns for his fur parts, and then cut out said fur parts and tried it on his head to see how it fit. Then I pinned on a bunch of pieces of fur to his body. Then I cut out and put together all of the fur parts, and once the fur was on, it really started to look critteresque. Then Capra helped me as I made nails and claws out of plastic. Being the good friend that I am, when my friend asked for 13 bucks, I happily obliged. Then it was time for the fun part. Painting! Once all his limbs were painted, I hot glued little pieces of fur to the ends of them. And then I very lazily hot glued his limbs onto his body. Then I secured the fur to his head with hot glue. And then I finished sewing the bottom of the fur. You know, I'm not one for cyber cars, but I guess if you're gonna do it right.
Now it's time to give little buddy Jerome here some teeth. Come on, I mean, I know he's supposed to be, like, vicious and evil, but, like, look at him.
Look at him!
He's so fluffy. I need to figure out what to do with his nails because they keep falling off, and I don't know where this one went. Jerome's gonna watch me while I spend 20 gajillion ages making teeth.
20 gajillion ages later, I made this vicious looking plate of teeth. Then I attached the teeth into his mouth. Look at that smile. Then I got a brush and had some fun playing with his hair.
Look at this distinguished gentleman.
Then I made some claws and nails out of foam clay to replace the plastic ones that kept falling off. Then I had to put a pause on the project because I was going on a trip with my church. Here's some footage I accidentally recorded from said trip.
Go with me. I can't get out my foot. Let go of my foot. Can y'all, like, pass me my stuff? No. Aww. Please.
There were bats in the boys' cabin, and I think they might have known about Jerome because I found this sign outside one of the bathrooms. This happened. Yeah, that's the last time I'm ever volunteering to be a camp counselor. When I got back, my niece made this really cool donut that serves as a reminder that Jesus is indeed the risen Savior. And I think the Easter atmosphere had got to the dogs because I caught them laying hands on each other. Anyways, I got to attaching and painting all of the foam clay now. I did some detail work on the teeth. Then I held him in front of the fan in a completely non-disturbing manner. Then I coated his mouth with a layer of Mod Podge just for some added security, if it even did anything at all. And then he was done.